And first of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to talk on your conference. And I would like to show you where I'm from. I am from the most central point of Asia, Novosibirsk city, 2 million people. And as you see, it's far away from Paris. Anyway, I like to participate in this conference, and I would like to make acquaintance with interesting technology, neurotechnology, biofeedback, neurofeedback. As Professor Ken Ware said, that we need to alter perception. Yes, feedback is in the basis, is the foundation of learning and training for optimal functioning. And exactly receiving feedback, we can study something, everything, and we can functioning. For example, when we learn from our own experience, we receive internal feedback. Are we correct or not correct? When we can learn with the teacher, we receive feedback about mistakes, and I receive feedback as using hints from teachers. And the technology that allow us to receive feedback from our own function is called biofeedback. What does it mean? We recorded different signal acquisition, electrical signal, electroencephalography, ACA, electrocardiography, electromyography, or temperature, it does not matter. And after processing in computer, we extract some features that we need to train and convert this feature in this analog signal in the digital signal, and we receive feedback as a video, audio, game, touch, or on other modality. The aim of biofeedback technology is, first of all, awareness of own functioning. You see, we don't know how is healthy our arm, for example, or limb. And we know when we have received a pain, it's a feedback from our pain, but healthy arm, we don't know how it is. And the second aim of biofeedback training is training of own functioning by voluntary modification. You see that neurofeedback training protocols have been shown to be effective treatments for many patients with wide range of disorders. You can see here, and including neurological disorders too. And in healthy participants, it can be used for performance enhancing, mood improving, cognitive ability enhancing, increasing attention, and so on. So it's very effective, must be very effective, and personalized technology, individualized technology, because we train our own functions. But why is learning to be aware of one's physiological functions and their voluntary modification not always effective? You see, no more than 70% of neurofeedback technology is not effective. And we analyze the factors that influence, has impact on the efficiency of biofeedback, neurofeedback technology. Neurofeedback, it means the EEG, biofeedback, or functional magnetic resonance biofeedback, it doesn't matter. The principle is the same. And all these factors are in two groups: internal factors like baseline, our condition, and external factors that influence for efficiency too, and how we can achieve them, and to recommend how to use it. And first, and the most important, it's individual EEG frequency, EEG pattern. We know that alpha rhythmicity of EEG is a key characteristic of the regulation of the excitation inhibition processes in organism. e.g., alpha rhythmicity is a result of impulse generation in the thalamic or pacemaker cells, the synchronous bursting of neuronal ensembles, and the activation of thalamocortical projections. What does it mean, activation? Alpha waves have very clear, very understandable feature, decreasing amplitude in response of any stimulation, for example, video stimulation. But alpha band is very interesting alpha band. It depends on which exactly frequency range we study. If we study alpha 2, also called upper alpha power, its marker is neurobiological marker in indices of control, memory, increasing performance, enhancing. Opposite, it's a voluntary activation. But alpha 1, it's obviously is a marker of perception, waiting, unconscious activation. So individual alpha peak frequency is such kind of factor as we call it endophenotypic factor. And now I will give you evidences why it's endophenotypic factor. You see, low frequency, alpha frequency subjects, they have less academic achievements than high frequency subjects. Here is a distribution of histogram of distribution of main individual alpha peak frequencies. And you see that in non-verbal creativity strategy, low alpha frequency subjects use less fluency, but high alpha frequency subjects use more fluency and originality. You see, and non-verbal creativity, it means the strategy of thinking. Interesting that even number of and duration of session depends on which alpha frequency is in baseline condition. Low frequency subjects, they need enough, high frequency subjects, they need enough 5-7 sessions for training. But low frequency subjects, they use more than 21 sessions. It's necessary for them because their feedback is not sufficient in their brain. So we see that low frequency subjects, they using internal feedback, not biofeedback. They after practicing about 30 minutes, they change their self-esteem. They don't change self-esteem. In spite high frequency subjects, they increase their self-esteem in music performance, especially in music performance. As far as practice with teacher, again, high frequency subject increase their self-esteem in comparison with low frequency subject. But when they practice with biofeedback, receiving feedback from their own alpha and EMG, they low frequency subject dramatically increase their self-esteem, but high frequency subject almost not increasing. And we see that individual alpha peak frequency determine where will be alpha 2 and alpha 1. For example, if we have standard alpha 2 from 10 to 12, for high frequency subject, it will be just alpha 1 and different function will return. And the same about low frequency subjects. In other words, we had to notice which frequency in baseline condition has alpha waves. For example, children with attention deficit disorder, they have lower alpha frequency than healthy children. So when we provide biofeedback for such kind of children with standard and traditional frequency range, decreasing theta and increasing beta, we can don't help such kind of children even to make his condition worse, and child became more aggressive because his individual alpha peak frequency even decreased. But when we use normal, his own frequency ranges theta from 10 to 5 hertz and beta from 10 to 18 hertz, we receive very good result, and we help such kind of child. And it's very necessary to remember that when we, when we don't use individual frequency ranges, it could lead us to deterioration in patient's condition. Interesting that individual alpha peak frequency high subject with approximately 11 hertz, they perceive more frequent flashes than slow alpha peak frequency subjects. So for when feedback delay for healthy children is good for immediate fixed reference, for low frequency subject with attention deficit disorder, delayed output reference is better than for high frequency subject. So even feedback as reinforcement is very important, and delay feedback technical characteristic, external factor depends on internal factor of individual alpha peak frequency. For example, if you give feedback U as reinforcement, negative reinforcement, so we introduce to decrease behavior, and alpha power decreased in alpha band range in comparison with no feedback or positive feedback when alpha power increase. Hormonal state influence for efficiency of neurofeedback training, because we know that menstrual cycle of women produce oscillation in progesterone and estrogen, and luteal phase is phase with high tenfold higher progesterone level in comparison with follicular menstrual phases. And it's interesting that exactly as a progesterone curve, individual alpha peak frequency increased on luteal phase and decreased on menstrual follicular phases. So efficiency of neurofeedback training too will repeat progesterone curve. As you see, if we give shame feedback, light blue bars, you see that it increases efficiency training, but neurofeedback training increased always, and the most increase when individual alpha peak frequency increased and progesterone level increased. So what is the mechanisms of such kind of phenomena like alpha peak frequency? You see, when our pacemaker neural cells that have very rich endoplasmatic reticulum, they produce, without feedback from endoplasmatic reticulum, they produce tonic mode oscillations with very high frequency. But when metabolism include in the producing oscillation with endoplasmatic reticulum and calcium channels, you see feedback control increase alpha waves, so-called spindle waves or bursting waves. And the frequency of calcium current is the same like a frequency of alpha waves on EEG. And if we just distract in transgenic mice, we distract only one subunit of calcium channels in azitol calcium channels, we produce such kind transgenic mice with very high frequency without alpha, without controlling inhibition. It's the most important function of alpha waves. And hormones especially steroid hormones like progesterone, corticosterone, cortisol, estrogen, they influence on all chains of producing of generation alpha waves. One more ergonomic factors influence on neurofeedback efficiency too. We know that EMG of especially forehead EMG assigns not only artifacts for EEG, but assigns on psychoemotional tensions and muscle tightness, even not only in forehead. And when Halliday and his co-authors measured synergy, they found that EMG from sensor placement on arms and EMG sensor placement on forehead are synergies coherent. But when they measure EMG, the same EMG and EEG sensor placement, they found anticoherence, they low coherence exactly in alpha waves. So what does it mean? It means that when we, like a beginners, not expert in the finger movements, produce our movement of fingers, our alpha decrease, but EMG of forehead EMG increased. But when musicians produce the same movements with fingers, their alpha waves increase, they receive like a satisfaction, they receive like a pleasure by moving their fingers, and their EMG decrease, they relax, psychoemotional tension, they decrease. So we create the method for calculation assessment of neurofeedback efficiency. Successful periods when alpha increased simultaneously with EMG decreased, we call successful periods, and calculated the percentage for total session time. So we produce such kind of neurofeedback. We acquire both EMG and alpha EEG, and thresholds when both thresholds alpha increase thresholds and EMG decrease thresholds in the same time, the sound feedback occurs as applause. And here you can see how we provide such kind of biofeedback. Here is thresholds for EMG, and here is thresholds for alpha. And sound, you see, sound appears when alpha over the thresholds, but EMG decrease thresholds. And the second ergonomic factor that always don't pay attention for this, line down, obviously, client position used in EEG recording. Reduce EEG individual alpha peak frequency. It means that when we provide neurofeedback in client position with no support of orientation, we don't receive normal results. So when our participants ask us what I have to do to increase my alpha, we said them that first strategy is to shift their body weight to the front of the foot. Second is the respiratory control, prolongation of expiration, abdominal bracing. Third is relaxation of forehead muscles, exactly reduction of muscle corrugator tension. And finally, we recommend them to image some pleasant event. And what they most frequently use? The more frequent use is exactly imagination of pleasant events. Then bracing, then relaxation of forehead muscles, and finally, very rare, not all our participants use foot support or support of orientation. But efficiency appeared the less efficient was in the imagination, but the highest efficient was for support of orientation. It's easy to imagine because when we put our weight on the foot, we activate our support of orientation, and we control our balance. So, conclusion, feedback cue presentation should be factors that increase the individual neurofeedback training efficiency. The shorter the feedback, the more efficient neurofeedback and positive reinforcement. But this I have to make a question, because for attention deficit disorder, not shorter feedback, but delayed feedback is better. Number and duration of neurofeedback session. It depends on individual alpha peak frequency and baseline condition, and depends on the hormonal state for sure. Number and duration of neurofeedback sessions. The longer sessions, the less awareness, and it depends again on individual alpha peak frequency. And ergonomic factors that influence the efficiency of neurofeedback training. Technology, it's a body position, forehead muscle tension, and awareness reflection is very needed. So thank you very much for your attention. And here is our academe, so-called academe town, where is the most smart line in the world. It's mean the line, science line, because here are around this or more than 20 scientific research institutes. Thank you.